Better late than never. Thanks, David. Get your crap together. Had some internet issues here at the River Valley Leader office. Here in the Cogswell Motor Studio, though, it's all good. Ready to talk some sports today. Talk Arkansas, Texas A&M here on the Sports Blitz with Maddie Lasser and David Brown back here. I'm Mark Freeman. Welcome in to the show on a Wednesday. You can be a part of today's show giving us a call at 968-NEWS. That's 968-6397. You can answer today's CrossFit Russellville poll question as well. You can go to facebook.com/sportsblitz or facebook.com/RVLnews. You can find me on Twitter at RealMarkFreeman if you'd like to be a part of a Twitter conversation. I'm pretty good now apparently at Twitter beef. I just get in fights with people on Twitter. It's stupid. But we're going to talk Razor. I'm joking. I don't really do that often. It did happen, but we're going to talk Razorback Texas A&M matchups today. Know thy enemy is what I said on Facebook. Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. What does Arkansas's defense have to do in order to win this game? How many points can they give up and still win this game? It really just is, it's about how you think the offense is going to perform, how you think Arkansas and its defense can perform on Saturday, whether or not you think Arkansas can give up 21-28, because then they have to score some points to win. So what can Arkansas do? What must they do to win this game? How do you feel they stack up to Texas A&M? It's a loaded question. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. Not literally a loaded question, but the question is loaded with lots of things. So we're going to look at some players. We're going to look at the size discrepancy on the Arkansas offensive line and the Texas A&M defensive line, because I think that's an interesting thought. But then I also want to look at the other side. I want to look at the matchups between Arkansas and Texas A&M and similar opponents. Arkansas played Auburn. Texas A&M played South Carolina. Neither one has played anybody anywhere near as good as the other outside of that game. I think Arkansas is better than South Carolina. Most people don't. I think South Carolina is a top 13 team right now, number 13 in the country. So people would say South Carolina is better. I don't know that I believe that. I think Arkansas, with the way they're playing on offense, is better than South Carolina. Now, South Carolina's defense is better. If the two played, I would favor Arkansas. Nobody else would.
Well, have them switch places. If you put Arkansas in their place in the East and you put South Carolina in our place in the West, what would people say?
Well, if you just switch their schedules this year, I think the same thing sort of happens. I don't think Arkansas is going to get beat as bad this Saturday as A&M did, or as South Carolina did against A&M. I don't know that Auburn would beat South Carolina as bad as they beat us. They might beat them worse. I don't know. And then the rest of the schedule would just go the same way, I think. As far as way South Carolina's played and the way Arkansas has played so far, they would have both beaten the other teams that the other have played. Although South Carolina had a close one with East Carolina, and then East Carolina went and hung 70 on North Carolina. So all those Carolinas are playing one another, and the directional Carolinas, East, South, and North have all played one another.
You got to throw, even though they're not a Carolina team, Clemson, got to throw them in there.
They'll play. South Carolina and Clemson will play.
You have four decent
Carolina
teams.
Yeah, it's a good time for Carolina football. Don't know how we got there, but we'll look at the matchups. We're going to spend a lot more time today on Razorbacks than we have because Will Gragg, that's a big deal. Arkansas gets I think he's the number 8 player in the state, tight end out of Dumas, formerly of Pine Bluff. It's Chris Gragg, former Arkansas tight end, NFL player now for the Buffalo Bills. It's his brother. So a lot of folks had him going to Arkansas anyway. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to. Had an offer from Alabama, had an offer from Ole Miss, Texas, LSU, anywhere he wanted to go. He went and visited Alabama with KJ Hill. Now, I heard this on the radio yesterday. I think it was Bo Mattingly's show, where he went and visited Alabama with KJ Hill. And Chris Gragg's mom asked, and Chris Gragg's dad, or Will Gragg's dad, same mom and dad, so doesn't matter. But he's the the superintendent at Dumas schools. So really smart folks. And they said, when you go on this trip to Alabama or on the way back, would you like to go to school there if you weren't playing football? And they just thought, and they thought, well, no, imagine you go to the school and you, God forbid, you break a leg and you can't play anymore. Would you want to go to that school? And they kind of took them aback, and they thought, well, if I'm hurt and not playing football, why would I, no, I would rather go to Arkansas, where I know people, I know the area, I'm close to home. I'd rather go to Arkansas. And then with the success that Arkansas's had, winning these 3 games has been huge. It's been huge in a number of ways. Confidence for the players, confidence from recruits, confidence in the coach. The coaches have to be feeling better about themselves after going through last year. I'm sure that in the back of their mind, even as highly touted as they once were, and as much as they've accomplished in their careers, they had to have been thinking, have I been passed by? Do I know what I'm doing? I've been there before in different walks of life where I thought, I don't know if I know what I'm doing in this field, or if I know what I'm doing right in this situation. And I'm sure those coaches, which is, it's usually a no, the answer. But the coaches had to have been thinking that, and then winning these 3 games was huge. And obviously in recruiting, it's brought some momentum. I want to talk about that momentum here in a little bit. But let's get started with local sports. Don't have a whole lot to mention other than who is playing whom this Friday night. We had a great week of high school football last week. And now you really get into the meat of the schedule, the conference slate, where the teams that will be playing one another for not just bragging rights. You've got some rivalry games this week, but it's getting serious as far as games that count. Pottsville, Dardanelle, game of the week. Pottsville, heartbreaking loss to Russellville. Can they bounce back from a game on the road at Russellville that they thought they should have won? They had 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles, and the one pass attempt that they had the entire game was intercepted and run back for a touchdown. Can Pottsville bounce back? They're playing at home. They're playing against perhaps their biggest rival. Dardanelle, just across, I don't know what that highway's called or what that road's called, but they've built a new road that bridges Dardanelle it's right over by the Arkansas River Bridge that bridges Dardanelle and Pottsville, makes it a 15-minute trip rather than driving all the way through Russellville to Pottsville. You can cut through right there and you can make that trip quick. That's an even bigger rivalry now than it once was, and Dardanelle is looking incredible. I think it was 48-14 against Clarksville, or maybe it was. I have it written down somewhere. They just beat down my Panthers last week, just roughed them up. And Dardanelle's looking really good. They beat Boonville, the defending 4A state champ, 28-0 2 weeks ago. So they're rolling right now, and they come into Pottsville sort of on a different. Brett Bielema talked about Northern Illinois and Texas Tech, how he had to become a humbler. Josh Price is probably having to be a humbler in Dardanelle right now, telling his guys, all right, I know you've beaten some teams that are probably inferior. Boonville apparently lost a whole lot of starters, sort of a Morrilton situation. Morrilton won the 5A last year, lost 16, 17 starters, are replacing a whole lot of guys. They're down. I think Boonville may be down this year. Clarksville, new coach, new system, new everything, down right now. You go beat these teams that you're supposed to beat, and then you play a Pottsville team that's by every indication going to be better than anybody that Dardanelle's faced so far this year. Coach Price has got to be saying, guys, pump the brakes a little bit. You're going to play a team this week that can and will beat you if you don't play up to your potential. And on the other side, Coach Rust is saying, all right, guys, I know you played a big, fast, strong team last week. You put your best foot forward. You put a lot of effort into preparation. You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears out there on the field. You're going to have to do it again against your big rival in a conference game. It's going to be a tough test for both coaches this week to get their guys ready to play. I don't think you're going to have a problem getting them motivated, but getting them in the right frame of mind is going to be a big deal this week. This game was supposed to be played at Arkansas Tech University, and I made a fool of myself last week telling folks that it was going to be played at Arkansas Tech. Well, that fell through. There are reasons that are extenuating from that game, but Arkansas Tech is not going to play host to this game, which it's only fair because Pottsville played at Dardanelle last year with basically the same things on the line, both teams right there in the 4A4 mix, and for them to not get the return trip this year would kind of be a rough thing for Pottsville to not be the home team. They'd missed the concessions. They'd missed the gate, the money that they could bring in from this big game. So it's kind of only fair that they're playing this game at Pottsville. But Nonetheless, it's going to be a huge matchup Friday night. I don't even know who I would favor to win. Now, I think Dardanelle's got more horses, more weapons, but like I'm going to talk about later, this Pottsville-Dardanelle game is a lot like the Arkansas-Texas A&M game. Texas A&M is Dardanelle, and Arkansas is Pottsville. Pottsville wants to run it, and make you quit. Dardanelle has the speed and the athletes everywhere. They want to run it, but they want to impose their will on you by hurry up and go score a lot of points. And Josh Price is a quarterback, former quarterback there at Arkansas Tech, and he's a very good with quarterbacks. He's got a really good one in Christian Thompson. And Dardanelle wants to score some points and put a hurting on Pottsville in that way. Which one will win out? I don't know. We're going to talk about Arkansas, Texas A&M here in a little bit. I think there are a lot of similarities between those two games. So that's going to be the game of the week there in Pottsville, the Apaches and the Sand Lizards. Atkins is hosting Harding Academy. Clarksville hosts Valonia. Danville is hosting Charleston. Dover is at Subiaco Academy. Hector hosts Western Yale County, Lamar at Lavaca, and Russellville at Bryant. Two Rivers is at Boonville this week. That one's going to be tough. And then Western Yale County is at Hector. As we mentioned, Hector, they're very good. So I expect Hector to get one there in a good game. Maddie, let's take our first break. I don't want to sort of mix topics here. We want to get to some wire-related stuff, the things coming off the wire right now on Facebook, on ESPN, on Twitter, the places I go to look for news, and then more recruiting news that comes on the heels of Will Gragg's commitment yesterday. This is good stuff to hear. So we'll get to that. We'll get to the Razorbacks and much more right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Welcome back on a Wednesday to the Sports Blitz. We made mention before the break of Will Gragg, 4-star tight end out of Dumas, choosing Arkansas over Alabama, and Ole Miss, and Texas, and everywhere else in the country.
We can just stop after Texas.
Did you hear what he said? No, this is the cool thing. He did this at his school, and he sort of trolled Alabama when he did it because he said, I'm going to roll with Arkansas. So that was kind of funny, and I don't know that many people caught that, but I thought that was really funny. I'm gonna roll with Arkansas. I'll put on the hat. So he decides to come to Arkansas. It was the worst kept. I mentioned this Monday. It was the worst kept secret in the state when he couldn't contain his excitement about KJ Hill, and he's tweeting about stuff. And LaMichael Petway, wide receiver from Nashville, decommits from Ole Miss. All signs pointed to all three of those guys wanting to play together. I think if Arkansas makes the spot, now they already got KJ Hill as a very, very good wide receiver recruit, and then a couple other guys. I don't know that they really want LaMichael Petway all that much, but if they offer him, and I don't know that he even has a committable offer. He may have, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, an offer, but not a committable offer. It's like, we want you, but we'll tell you whether or not you can commit to us because we may get somebody better. That's sort of out the way it sounds. I don't know whether or not Arkansas wants him all that much, and if that'll offend him, and at some point he decides to take his talents to someplace else. But it looks like those three are going to be playing together, and I talked about the momentum that comes with Arkansas getting the top 8 players in the state. Something that Houston Nutt was made fun of because he wanted to create a fence, build a fence around the state of Arkansas and keep those boys here. Well, Bobby Petrino, he blew the fence up. He did. Oh, I don't want you guys. I just won't have you. Won't recruit you, Mike Dyer. Apparently, Michael Dyer wasn't as big a miss as Arkansas thought it was at first, and I thought it was. Alti Tenpenny didn't recruit him hard enough, so it made it impossible for Arkansas to get him. And he goes to Alabama. It goes on, Cody Burns and Slick Shelley and just all kinds of names that you can come up with that have left the state of Arkansas. But getting these 8 guys from the state of Arkansas, the top 8 guys, potentially Petway makes it number 9, that you want, is a big deal, and it starts the ball rolling. And obviously we talked earlier about the wins helps the coaches, helps the current players, helps recruiting in the state of Arkansas, and then it helps, you can feel it sort of building and growing outward. I think it's helping nationwide, and at least regionally, and within the pipelines that they've built recruiting wise. You've got Derek Graham, who is a linebacker, and he was a big target. They said this week they were trying their best to get him to commit over the weekend. He did not do that, but he did say lots of nice things about his trip to Arkansas, and he did mention the fact that he wanted to come back for another visit after his season was over. He's really, and this is a 4-star linebacker, a huge position of need for the University of Arkansas, who is really high on the Razorbacks. Looks like they'll at least be quote unquote on the table for him, and when they pick from the hats. I'd love for more guys to pick up the Arkansas hat, and I'd rather them leave Arkansas off the table altogether if they're going to pick somebody else. But to at least be in the conversation for a position of need, and Derrick Henry, that's a big deal. Also this week they were visited by 4-star offensive guard Jalen Barnett, number 2 ranked player in Oklahoma. A lot of people have him as an Oklahoma lock. He's going to OU. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When Oklahoma wants a top guard in the country, which he's by all accounts one of the top offensive guards in the country, and the number 2 player in their state, when they want him, they just go say, hey, come on, they come on. That's just how it works in Oklahoma most of the time. You go to Tulsa, and Tulsa gives the best players to Oklahoma, the second best players to Oklahoma State, third best players to Arkansas. That's just most of the time how it works. Sometimes you get a Felix Jones, but then you get another Barnett kid out of Tulsa who was coming to Arkansas, flips to Oklahoma State. Sometimes you get a guy out of there, but more likely than not, Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. Well, this Barnett kid appears to be leaning to University of Arkansas via rivals. They said that during his recruiting trip to Arkansas this weekend, his phone was being blown up by Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Oregon, and his parents and grandparents specifically took offense to that. They said that it was disrespectful for those teams to constantly be blowing up his phone when they knew he was on an official visit to the University of Arkansas. That teamed with the win and the way Arkansas played and the momentum that Arkansas got going. He was there
this past weekend?
He was in Fayetteville this weekend. And his phone was being blown up by these other schools trying to recruit him. They didn't like that, put a sour taste in their mouth. I know it'll go away at some point, to where when he comes down to make a decision, he'll try to make the best decision for him. But I don't know how you can see, and if you watched the game last week, you saw where they had a picture up, a graphic of the players in the NFL that Brett Bielema had put in the NFL. It was like 11, 12, 13, 14. There were like 6 guys in the last 4 years that Brett Bielema has coached the NFL. And you got Travis Frederick, a first round pick at center for the Dallas Cowboys that is out of Wisconsin. You go all the way back to Joe Thomas at Wisconsin, Gabe Karimi. You've got name after name of offensive linemen that have played for Brett Bielema. And Sam Pittman's the best offensive line coach in the country. Alabama came and offered him more money to come to Alabama. Arkansas ups the ante, keeps him here. You've got the best offensive line coach in the country. You've got a coach, or a head coach who puts offensive linemen in the league, and you've got momentum going forward and a chance to play early. Why would you not want to come to Arkansas if you're an offensive lineman? So I could see this being something that February is a long way away, but I could see it being something where Arkansas would be a very attractive place to a guy like Jalen Barnett, and that's why I give a little bit of credence to this Rivals report that he's leaning to Arkansas. Until he signs the dotted line, there's no telling one way or the other. But Arkansas has 14 recruits, and 7 of them are 4 stars. Never in the history of Arkansas have they had this good a start to a recruiting class as far as the star ratings go. Think of those as you will. A lot of people say that they're absolutely worthless, but you want the 5-star guys, don't you?
Well, let me say one thing about the recruiting. I'm going to be a little bit of Kool-Aid. We
got Kool-Aid
right
time
That's
today.
Okay. If you look at Bielema's recruiting at Wisconsin, and then you look at what he's doing here at Arkansas so far, and the way he recruited at Wisconsin, he was not getting tippy-top players. He would get a few pretty highly rated guys here and there. But he didn't have like stellar recruiting classes, but he consistently developed those guys. We saw what he did with the offensive linemen going into the NFL. We see what he did with J.J. Watt. He came in as a tight end, and now he's the best defensive player in the NFL, likely. I think he is. So you see how he develops players. And then he comes to Arkansas, and this is what I thought would happen. I would think just because we're in the SEC, because we're in the South, he's going to be able to recruit better players than he did at Wisconsin. And if he can recruit better players than he did at Wisconsin and develop those guys the way he did the players at Wisconsin, then they should be that much better. And it looks to me like that's exactly what he's doing. He's getting tippy-top type guys like Hunter Henry as tight end, who's already excellent. And he's going to take him, and he's already molding him into something that we're going to be seeing him in the NFL. So I like seeing that, and this recruiting class isn't like, oh, look, we're top 5 in the nation. Oh, wow, look what Arkansas is doing. But the way he develops players, this gives me incredible amount of hope that he is getting a really, really sharp recruiting class, and the way he develops, that makes me feel really good about the future. So
I want to talk Arkansas, Texas A&M here in a little bit, but I did get 2 texts yesterday from people. I won't tell you who they are, but they were anti-Bielema people. They were pro-Gus people. And they said they can see it. You may go out and get blown out by Texas A&M this weekend, but when the fan base can see it on the field and off, they hadn't had any arrests. I know, what do you want, a cookie? You're not supposed to get arrested, but when every other school in the conference is suspending people, and you've got guys who, when your coach comes into the press conference, he's not talking about somebody getting arrested. He literally, yesterday, this happened, is talking about academic progress reports and how great people are doing. That's a welcome change from let's follow the Washington. The reason that I know which county Fayetteville is in? Because of following arrest reports on Hogville. I go and I see the picture, the mugshot, and I know that Fayetteville's in Washington County because I've seen the mugshot. That shouldn't be. And Brett Bielema and his staff are doing and that's neither here nor there because that's not even anything about the field and on the field. But we can see things coming to fruition before our eyes that Bielema wanted to do, things he did at Wisconsin. And you're going to have to win some SEC games. I asked Monday, which games can Arkansas win? Had people saying Missouri, LSU, maybe this A&M game, possibly Georgia. I mean, I think Georgia's really good. Kirk Herbstreit last week had
Georgia being in Little Rock makes it a
country.
little different, but
yeah. I mean, I don't expect them to get blown out in Little Rock. ever. So that's part of it.
Yeah,
I didn't expect them to get blown out twice in Fayetteville.
I think
the last 2 years.
LSU, we always play them tough, and LSU doesn't look so hot. I
No.
mean, they didn't look so hot, and
But
they certainly
that
didn't
also
look
is an
so
issue.
hot
I'd rather
against-
LSU be overrated than underrated,
Yeah.
That's
so I
that's
think
a
LSU
worrisome
is
thing
a
to me.
possibility. A&M is a possibility. Georgia is a possibility. I mean, I really do think I would be shocked if we didn't get one. And I'm not one of these
One of
guys
those three or one at all?
one SEC game. I'm not one
I'll
of
be
these
shocked
guys
if we don't
who's-
get one. I will be disappointed if we don't get two. I'll be shocked if we don't get one.
Yeah, I'm not one of these callers, into the Arkansas radio station
I keep
saying
saying
nine wins. I'm not going there. I'm glad we're on this track, and now I think instead of flipping on over to 8-9 wins, I'm just thinking we're that much closer to getting the 6 wins I wanted. I just want to get to six wins in a bowl because I think that will do a ton for recruiting, and that's my whole thing. Like, we're not gonna threaten for the West this year, and that's okay. But to build towards that in the next couple of years, we need to have that type of season because of what happened the past couple of years. We really need that for recruiting purposes.
I want to ask about, and this is the final topic before we get to all Razorbacks. Jameis Winston. I want to preface everything I'm about to say with the fact that I don't really like Jameis Winston. I just don't like him. Don't like the way he carries himself on and off the field, the way it appears that he carries himself, the things that he's gotten into, crab legs and the accusations and standing on the table and just dressing out Saturday even though they told him not to. I did hear that was a miscommunication where his pads were left in his locker. And what's a guy to do? He doesn't know. As of Monday, he was sitting half the game and he was going to be dressing out. So when his pads are there, I can understand how that could be a miscommunication, and he would put his pads on when they're sitting right there in your locker, get dressed. I know you're not playing, but there are a lot of guys who aren't going to play. They're dressed out. So I could see where that could be, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. What I want to ask Maddie about, and we had a good little debate before this show started, not about this, about something completely different, but I know you're up for debate today.
Okay.
Jameis Winston, accused of rape back in 2012. He was a freshman, highly recruited guy. He was the Trent Dilfer's Elite 11 lock. He said he was going to be an NFL Hall of Famer before he ever played a college game. He talked about how great Jameis Winston was going to be. Everybody and their mama knew who Jameis Winston was, one of the top recruits in the country, chooses Florida State. Long story short, he wins a Heisman last year. This whole conversation about these rape allegations came out middle of last year. He's now going to cooperate with the investigation. He's going to go through the process. He believes that it's, he knows one way or the other whether it's true or false, but he's talking about how this is an extortion attempt. And allegedly, the woman has come to his attorney and said, give me $7 million and I'll go away. And her attorney, allegedly, goes to his attorney, says, we'll not take this to the media. If you'll just give us $7 million, we'll shut up. We'll go away. And now, since they said no, they go to the media. This becomes a big story. He's being alleged to, this heinous act. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I don't know. But it's getting to a point where, Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice was suspended, before we saw the second tape, the inside tape. He was suspended for 2 games. If you believe the NFL, they suspended him those 2 games before they really had the facts together. Well, you have to. They did suspend him 2 games before they had the facts together, because then they went back and suspended him again. He's going to win his appeal, by the way, because the NFL has no leg to stand on. They punished him twice for the same offense. 2 games, then indefinite, and you got him cut. He's going to win that appeal, by the way. And the NFL double jeopardy rule, like you can't suspend somebody twice for the same thing, and they did. It doesn't matter. They suspended him the 2 games the first time. They have to go to that. And then they changed the rule to 6 games, and they suspended him indefinitely. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's a long conversation. But then Adrian Peterson, he's accused of this. You see the pictures. Another woman comes out. I don't know if it was another former wife, another baby mama, whatever it is, accused again of another alleged child abuse situation. Jameis Winston accused of rape. It's getting to the point to where these folks, in my opinion, could be very easily enticed to just say, see what happened to Adrian Peterson, and see what happened to Ray Rice, and see what happened to Jameis Winston. I don't like this guy. I want to ruin his life. I'll just levy some accusation against him. Some woman may possibly come across a man. This is how easy it'd be. If you wanted to get Jameis Winston, he goes to this bar on Friday nights. He's a 21-year-old, eligible to do that, legal. And he goes to this bar and he has a drink or two, and you get in there with him all cozy. You're a pretty lady and you want to ruin his life. You could very easily have a couple drinks with him, and maybe he is a sloppy drunk and he goes and gets just blitzed, and you make this accusation the next day like he did something to you. He doesn't know. He can't remember. And this type of thing, it could be starting to happen. I'm not saying that he did or didn't do this in this instance, but it's starting to get to the slippery slope where, players, all you have to be is famous and you can be extorted. There was another one. Oh, I'm trying to think of who it was. David Letterman. Somebody tried to extort him. It's getting pretty tough because now in the court of public opinion, you're tried before there's any evidence. You're tried before, and you're guilty before you can be proven innocent. It's starting to get sort of scary.
You really have to balance it because, and this is exactly what you were just talking about, you can't make it so easy for someone to extort someone else, for someone just to accuse, and then immediately the league or whoever it is just jumps on it completely because they're so scared of having another scandal. And I feel like that's a little bit what happened with Adrian Peterson. Whether he was right or wrong, it looked clear to me that he went too far with this kid. But the league so quickly jumped on that and made a decision, and his year is done and maybe more.
The Vikings don't ever expect
that's
that.
The thing. I don't think this would be the case, but we might not see Adrian Peterson, the best running back in the league and one of the best has ever play another snap.
Well, he's definitely lost a year of his prime.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and whether we don't know whether that was warranted or not, really. But the league jumped on it so quickly because we all know it's about money anyway. But I hate that to where now everyone is so on edge. If anything at all even looks like it happened, the league's making a snap decision. And that type of stuff scares me, not just in the NFL, but just in a general sense.
With famous people in general, in any avenue. Yeah. I'm the same way. In any arena of life now, if you've got money or you're famous and somebody has an axe to grind, you just say something.
Well, you were talking about the Ray Rice appeal. That's what happened in its own case. That thing broke. They suspended him, and then they had so much backlash that when they saw the video, supposedly for the first time, then they made more of a snap judgment like, well, he's out for the year, and the Ravens cut him, and that's it. And that may be warranted. But you leave the door open for his appeal that way, or for him to win his appeal, because you're just jumping around. You're jumping around. Whichever way the wind blows is the way you're going to go. And I hate that. It's like, make a decision based on what you believe is right, not whichever way the wind blows, which seems to be the way that they're doing right now.
Go look at
people think this, so we're gonna do what they think we should do. It's like,
we didn't make mention of the Ravens owner. I think it's Steve Bisciotti and Roger Goodell's press conferences. But go look at what Bill Simmons has to say about in his BS report about Roger Goodell. He called him an effing liar more than once. He said that it's BS, basically, that he is saying what he's saying and that he's a liar, and just, man, it's getting deep. And I know that doesn't have anything to do with Jameis Winston, but I'm sort of getting to the point where it's just like, folks, this is America, innocent till proven guilty. Whether you like the guy or you don't, let's wait a little bit. It's not an Aaron Hernandez sort of situation where, he allegedly murdered someone and then allegedly murdered someone else. It's like a long pattern of behavior in this way. It's someone accuses him of something terrible and allegedly tries to get some money out of it. And that could happen all over the place. It's not a Joe Mixon at Oklahoma situation where a woman says he punched her in the face. She got a bruised face, got video of him punching her in the face. It's not a Dorial Green Beckham situation where he allegedly pushes a woman downstairs in the middle of a fight. He didn't. I mean, she didn't ask for money. She just said he beat me up. It's a different animal entirely. And I don't want to. If there is a victim, I don't want to victim blame. But it's a tough situation there, where folks are just starting to throw stuff around. It's like people are saying, all right, I want to get rich off this guy and I don't like him, or whatever. So it's very easy. I want you guys to calm it down a little bit. Speaking of calm it down, before we hit our next break, Charlie Strong trying to calm things down at Texas. He has kicked his 9th player off the team. You'd think, like I saw somebody tweet this yesterday, I think it was Ryan Russillo tweeted this yesterday, to be player number 9 kicked off after player number 8 and player number 7, you just really have to not get it. You have to really not understand that Charlie Strong is not playing around, and he will cut you in a moment. If you act like an idiot, if you do something that is against the code of conduct or whatever rules he's put in place, he will get rid of you. And he did. 9th. I don't like the University of Texas, but I've got a lot more respect for Charlie Strong. He's not taking crap from anyone. I think he wouldn't be able to do this if he went. I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but he wouldn't be able to get away with it as easily as if he were at a smaller, crappy school. But when you can go out and go out your back door and pick the top 25 best recruits in the country and you have a number 1 recruiting class whenever you get around to it, I think he can get away with it a little easier there at Texas than he can anywhere else. But good for him that he's cleaning house and getting rid of all the thuggishness that was going on at the University of Texas. I do hope they suck forever. But that's just because I'm from Oklahoma and living in Arkansas. That's just neither here nor there. Hey, congratulations on your life. I hope it sucks over there at Texas. So, all right, we got to hit a break. Arkansas Razorback talk from here to the end of the show. Give us a call at 968 News. That's 968-6397 if you'd like to be a part.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
All right, I said it's going to be all hog the rest of the show, but I did want to. David made a point and brought a thought to my mind that with the Jameis Winston situation, or with anyone in sports right now, it's getting to where they're preemptively suspending folks before they know any of the details. And now it's getting to the point to where you want to win a game. You're a Clemson fan and you really want to win a game. Well, let's bring up something about Jameis. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but you want to win a game? Well, things are so on edge. People are walking on eggshells. Well, let's just bring an accusation against so-and-so. There they go. There goes the game. You're starting to affect every play. If it's in the NFL, you want to affect an entire team. Not only you get rid of this player who could possibly lose his salary for that year or forever, you affect every other player on that team and their livelihood for forever. You affect everyone who bought the tickets, as David said, everyone who paid for the seats at the game. You affect the coaches and their lives. It's like I said, like I was telling him, it's a fake bomb threat. When I was a sophomore in college, my sister was a senior in high school. Somebody didn't want to go to school, and something like 9 times during the year they called in a bomb threat. Well, the school has to close down. There's a bomb threat. They have to let people out there. This is happening in Northwest Arkansas right now, where I think it was at Southside the other day. Somebody just called in a bomb threat, and they have to close the school down. And there may not be anything to it, but that person got their way, and these people may be after money or just to ruin somebody's life, and all they have to do is call in one threat.
Right, and when it's a strictly legal matter, if you call in a bomb threat, then if it's a fake bomb threat and that's found out, then you face very serious penalties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
However, that's no remedy when you're talking about professional sports, because if the accuser is found out, and if they do face penalties for lodging a false complaint or knowingly lying to the police, how does that repair the damage done?
It doesn't.
You can't go back.
No amount of money is going to matter.
No, exactly right. So in this case, maybe above other cases, it's important to wait until the outcome of actual court proceedings, where every accusation can be weighed and tried. And frankly, at the end of it, I imagine many of the complaints will never require action. It's the only safeguard that I can think of, because if you preemptively suspend a player, then the consequences are felt immediately and all the way across the sport, all the way out to the fans, and all the economic implications of that. So I think that it calls for an abundance of caution, for due process, the way we set it out, and it's time for them to quit going ready, shoot, aim. You know what I mean?
That's true. And we can move on. Gotta get to the Hogs, because got a lot of stuff that I did a little research today. Know thy enemy. Well, look at who Arkansas is going to be playing, who they're going to be going up against on Saturday. Brandon Allen, 552 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception on the year. That's all right. Kenny Hill from Texas A&M, 500 yards passing in his first game. He's got 1,359 yards through 4 games, 13 touchdowns to 1 interception. So he's thrown 5 more touchdowns and completed 8% more passes, 800 more yards, 200 yards a game more than Brandon Allen is averaging. That shows you the difference in what Arkansas wants to do and what Texas A&M wants to do. On the flip side, rushing the ball, Alex Collins has 490 yards and Jonathan Williams has 391, both 5 and 7 touchdowns respectively. Nobody from Texas A&M is anywhere near that. 391 for Williams. Well, the leading rusher for Texas A&M, Trey Williams, came down to Arkansas and Texas A&M, by the way. Rushed for 208 yards and 4 touchdowns so far this year, and their second leading rusher has 139 yards on the year. So looking though at Texas A&M a little bit more, they do have this is the problem that Texas A&M presents. They've got guys, they've got skill position guys and running backs and wide receivers, more wide receivers than running backs, but they have 6 guys who've rushed for over 100 yards this year. Not in a game, but six guys who've rushed for over 100 yards this season in 4 games. So, I know if you average it out, that's only 25 yards a game, but that means that they've got 6 guys who will carry the ball or who have the threat of carrying the ball. And if you're Arkansas looking at the stat sheet and who you have to prepare for, that's 6 guys over 100 yards so far. Then they've got 5 guys with a touchdown reception of 24-plus yards. 5 explosive wide receivers. Seals, Jones, Reynolds, Holmes, Gonzalez, and Tabuyu. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he's got.
I think you said it right the first time.
He's got a touchdown of at least. All those guys have a touchdown of at least 24 yards. This is an explosive offense. This is an offense that will put a lot of points on the board. They average 55 points a game. So I've asked today, what does Arkansas's defense have to do? I will give you predictions on Friday, but what do they have to do to be able to have a chance at the end of this game? How many points is the most they can give up? I know that it all depends on the offense. If the offense is rolling Texas A&M and scoring 50 points, well, you can give up 49 and win. I understand that. But if you had to think now on a Wednesday how many points they could be safe in giving up and expect that the offense is going to be able to make it up and win, how many points would you say? Maddie, I don't know where you stand with this, but I expect that Texas A&M is going to score no less than 28 points in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I had
Absolutely.
them, I think, in my preliminary projection, I had them at about 40. They scored 55 a game. That'd be holding them 2 touchdowns below their average if you held them at 40.
I think
so.
I was going to say, I think, well, it's about 40, 35 or 38. I think if it's hard for me to say. I don't know.
Well, let me look at some things real quickly. All right, we'll just walk through some things. Texas A&M has played South Carolina. In that game, South Carolina threw for 366 yards, and they rushed for 67. Part of that was that Texas A&M jumped all over them quickly, and they had to try to throw to get back in the game to no avail. Part of it was because Mike Davis was hurt. He got hurt early in that game. They only had 67 yards rushing in the game. You sort of have to throw these numbers out because South Carolina doesn't want to throw for 366 yards a game. They'd love to do that, but they'd love to run with Mike Davis and control the game that way, more of a traditional pro style than the fun and gun like Spurrier had at Florida. So I sort of throw those stats out of the equation, but that does tell me that Texas A&M's secondary is vulnerable. I know that they gave up 300 rushing yards last week to Rice, so their defensive line and linebackers in that area vulnerable. I don't think, bottom line, Texas A&M's defense is that good. I think Arkansas is going to be able to run the ball on them. When we look at the size discrepancy here in a minute, I think you're going to have some advantages. Arkansas's got the biggest offensive line in the country. I heard Marcus Spears just a little bit ago talk about how when he played for LSU and he played against Arkansas, and they had Sean Andrews and Jason Peters, he said it was the worst week of his life. He said they just lean on you all game long. By the fourth quarter, you want to quit. And if you make one mistake where you just want to quit, and you do on one play, house. Yeah. And that gets you beat. Arkansas's offensive line is going to lean on this Texas A&M defensive line. What remains to be seen is whether or not it will be enough, and whether or not what Texas A&M is going to do will be overshadowed by Arkansas imposing its will. To impose your will, you have to do what you want to do despite what they're doing. I think Texas A&M is going to load the box. They're going to put 8-9 guys in the box, and they're going to say, go ahead and beat us over the top. I think Arkansas will struggle. That's obviously Arkansas's weakest point, and defense is obviously Texas A&M's weakest point. I think that they'll be able to have some success, a limited amount of success, because I think Arkansas's tight ends are good enough that if they're able to run routes and catch passes and loosen the defense up, Texas A&M's out of sorts, they're in trouble. But I do think Texas A&M's athletes are better than anyone Arkansas's faced outside of Auburn. Looking at it, Arkansas, they rushed for something like 200 and let me see, I wrote it down here and now I can't find it. They rushed for something like 150 yards and passed for 200 and some yards against Auburn. Of course, that was trying to come back at the end. First half, you remember the truck-sized holes that Arkansas was running through, and in the second half they closed up. Part of that probably has to do with an elevator, and part of it with Auburn adjustments that they made. But you got it now. I got you. So I think Arkansas will have some success running the ball, but Texas A&M is going to stack the box. Let's look at the Arkansas. We know about their offensive line. Would be the largest by weight in the NFL. Definitely the biggest in college football, and much bigger than Texas A&M's defensive line. Let's look. No names, just sizes of the Texas A&M defensive line. At defensive end, you've got a starter at 6'4", 255. He's going to go against the tackle for Arkansas, probably Bray Cook. The other one 6'3", 247. That's his backup. At rush end, that's not very big. That's a linebacker. At rush end, the defensive end that they're going to use to try to flush the passer out, which Arkansas is going to run, 6'6", 245. And then their big talented freshman, Myles Garrett, 6'5", 255. So you got guys 255, 247, 245, 255 going against guys that none of them are less than 310 on the Arkansas offensive line. They're 320 and above for the most part. Denver Kirkland weighs 355 pounds. Yeah, he's huge.
Big boy.
A&M's nose tackles, 6'2", 300. That's a big old boy for most places. 6'1", 310 is his backup. So 300 and 310, both still outweighed by everyone Arkansas is going to put on that offensive line. You've got Denver Kirkland at guard, and then who's the other guard? Sharpen TA, 310, 315, 320, going against the inside guys for the tackles for Texas A&M. And nose tackle, he'll go against probably the center most of the time unless he's double teamed by a guard or whatever Arkansas chooses to do there. Then at defensive tackle, 6'4", 290, 6'3", 290. They're not big on the defense. They can load the box if they like, but their defensive line versus Arkansas's offensive line is going to get dominated. What will then become a question is, can Texas A&M's linebackers make tackles? We mentioned this, Maddie, against Texas Tech, where if you load the box, your linebackers had better tackle, because if they can't fill a gap and tackle, you got running backs in the second level. You try tackling Jonathan Williams with that safety or that corner.
If Arkansas is going to win, they have to make Texas A&M honest. Like you were talking about, they're going to load that box. We already know that. If we can make Texas A&M honest with a couple of bombs or not, even just some
passes,
some nice passes, like you were talking about, to the tight ends where they're actually making catches. Then we can keep them honest, and then I think that changes the game. If we're not able to do that, then it could be a long day. But and I believe we will be able to, and if we're able to consistently keep them honest, then I think this is going to be one hell of a game.
Arkansas wants 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where you don't know what's coming. Could it be a short pass? Could it be a run up the gut? Could it be a run off tackle? Could it be, if you don't know, harder to stop? If it's 3rd and 10 all day long, Arkansas is in trouble. If it's 3rd and 1 all day long, A&M's in trouble, because you know what's coming in that instance. So obviously, Arkansas wants to run it down Texas A&M's throat. Texas A&M wants to load the box and say, go ahead and try to throw it. And if you can't do it, it's going to be if either one of these teams has their way, it's going to be a long day for the other one. I think you're going to see enough give and take that it's going to be a game. I think in the fourth quarter, Arkansas is going to have a chance. I'll tell you on Friday what I think is going to happen unless things change. In my mind, I've got my mind made up.
And then we will tell you on Monday what happened.
We will tell you. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Mark will give his first-person account of what happened
from
the
stand
sideline.
there and I will tell you how sweaty these men looked running by.
That's kind of weird what you just said.
I did. That was a little odd. Let's just edit that out. Let's
edit we'll edit that out. Rewind. Okay.
Auburn against Arkansas. This is what scares me. The defense for Arkansas. Stopping Auburn was impossible. You watched the first half, and they threw all over Arkansas whenever they felt like it. And then you think about that. When you think about the Auburn game, Maddie, what do you remember Auburn doing offensively to Arkansas's defense?
I remember Nick Marshall doing things.
Well, no, first half.
Defense. First half.
The backup quarterback throwing for 275 yards. That's what I remember. They threw for 302 yards in that game. But 270 of it in the first half.
On the same point, though, we played them better when I know he still had those yards, but we played them overall better when Jeremy Johnson was in the game than when Nick Marshall was in the game. So I think they were talking about us versus Texas A&M last year versus this year because they had a running quarterback or a quarterback that was apt to run and liked it in Johnny Manziel. Kenny Hill is more like Brandon Allen in that he can if he needs to, but he's not looking to run. He's looking to pass. So I think that bodes well for Arkansas in a way. I know it's bad because Jeremy Johnson did shred us, but it's kind of one of those things like you know what you're going to get. But with Nick Marshall, he may just gash you for 25 running the ball when a play breaks down. You're not going to see that same thing from Kenny Hill. At least I hope.
Apparently he's got the ability to run. Look, in the Auburn game, and I know these are apples to oranges, Auburn scored 24 points in the second half, 7 of them on an interception return for a touchdown, so 17 points on offense to 21 in the first half. The reason that we think Arkansas played them better in the first half is because Arkansas scored in the first half, and they didn't score in the second half. So the adjustments that Auburn made shut Arkansas down in every aspect of the game. I'm missed up there here just a minute ago. I said that Auburn passed for 300. They passed for 293. They ran for 300. That's what I remember about this game. It was a tale of two halves. First half, Auburn throws it all over Arkansas. Arkansas can't do anything about it. Second half, Artis Payne, who rushed for 177 yards, ran all over Arkansas. Arkansas couldn't do anything about it. Duke Williams, 154 yards. They're receiving for Auburn. Long story short, Auburn did whatever it wanted to offensively against Arkansas. Love it or hate it, I'm glad Arkansas had a chance in the first half. It was tied at the half. But we've talked about the improvement Arkansas's defense has made, but the fact is you played a good team, and they did whatever they wanted. You played 3 teams that weren't as good, and you were able to impose your will. So we got to step on the brakes a little bit. We got to back off the expecting Arkansas to win the game. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying Arkansas can win the game. Right. I believe Arkansas can win the game, but expecting them to win a game when the only time the defense has really been tested against a team that's as good as what Texas A&M is, they did whatever they wanted to. I'm worried. Now, I do think Auburn's defense, this is where I think the game can get close. Auburn's defense stopped Arkansas. I don't know that Texas A&M's can. So with that caveat, I'll say Texas A&M is the favorite for a reason. I know they were a 15-point favorite. Now it's down to 9, and I heard that it could even get down to 6. I know Texas A&M is the favorite for a reason, and I think Arkansas's got a chance, but I don't know how the defense is going to react in this sort of matchup. I know Brett Bielema has taken the team through Friday to do the tour and get the big eyes in Texas Stadium, but in that sort of atmosphere, in that sort of environment against a team that is going to put some points on the board, how does the team react and respond to negativity and to things that go against them? Adversity, that's the word. Yeah. Something flashed in here and messed my whole world up.
Messed with me too.
It just messed my whole world up. I forgot words and the language. But anyway, Maddie, we'll get to predictions on Friday, but I've gone back and forth on this game, feeling really good, feeling sort of nervous.
I think that's good, though. I've tried to do that this week.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
I've tried to. It's like last night. I read a lot about the bad, with the matchups that are bad for Arkansas, and so now I'm a little bit more back down to earth to where I feel like Arkansas can win this game. They have a great chance to win this game, but I'm not expecting Arkansas to win this game. And I'm going into this one like I said I would at the beginning of this year, is I want to see us go into these games against Texas A&M, against Alabama, against Georgia, not get blown out. Compete in the game like we did, against LSU at the end of the year last year. Just come to the game, don't get embarrassed, compete. You don't have to win the game, but just show that you're making your way there, because nobody's expecting you to beat an Alabama, and there are some people expecting us to beat A&M, but I don't. But I think we're going to give them a game, and that's what I'm looking for. Even if we lose by 10 points or something, as long as we don't get embarrassed, that's headed in the right direction for me. But that said, I really, really want this Texas A&M game.
I know you do. You said that on Tuesday. We were talking about it yesterday. Okay. I'll go ahead and give you – I'm not going to give you my score, but I'll go ahead and tell you I think Arkansas is going to lose. The way I feel this game is going to go is that we're going to come in here on Monday and we're going to be disappointed because Arkansas had a chance. That's a place that I would much rather be than 52-0 against Alabama, 52-7 against South Carolina, where that was pitiful, that was disgraceful. I'm mad that I even went type thing, but – It's a good place and a bad place at the same time, because there are going to be moments in the game where you look at it and you think Arkansas had every chance to win if they'd done this and if they'd done that. But before, hindsight's 2020. When you're looking forward, and I'm looking at this game, I don't want to be too frustrated. And this is me talking to Monday me. I don't want to be too frustrated because I already knew Texas A&M had more talent. And in my opinion, they should be expected to win this game. And if Arkansas doesn't win the game, it shouldn't be because, they made this stupid mistake or they win. No, I think that Arkansas is going to do enough good things. Texas A&M is going to do enough good things. And sometimes you just get beat. It's not, both teams can play well, and one's going to win, one's going to lose. That's just the way this is. Somebody's going to have to win, somebody's going to have to lose. So, I don't know. I do think they stand a chance, Gerald Gilbert. I do think they stand a chance. I do think they're going to have an opportunity, and if they win the game, I won't be shocked. I'll be surprised. I'll be happy. Won't be shocked if Arkansas wins the game Saturday. I'm excited about the game, more for the fact that I'm going to be on the field, standing there. Got my press pass yesterday in the mail. I'm not excited at all.
He didn't scream like a girl.
I already told y'all. I didn't do that. Shut up. I didn't do that. I did make the point on last Friday or whatever day it was that we were on here after I was approved for the credentials that I won't apologize for the fact that I'm excited about going to cover this game. I'm going to rub elbows with some of the bigwigs probably. Who knows? I'm probably talk to
maybe
some
lunch
the
afterwards,
big media folks that, they're just something special.
Maybe private jet.
And I don't
plane
even
ride,
feel
who
bad
knows?
about saying I'm excited. I'm going to be wearing the neon yellow RVL shirt so that you guys can look for me on TV. That's how I'm thinking about this. I'm going to cover the game. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to be wearing that bright yellow RVL shirt so y'all can look for me. And I'm not even going to apologize for it. Some folks call it small time, but there was a start for each one of these people, and for them to get their first game, to go to that first game, especially in the Taj Mahal of sports arenas.
Hey, to be 3 years old here and be able to go to Cowboy Stadium, standing on the sideline taking photos, I say we can pat ourselves on the back for that one. Give us a round of applause ourselves.
Do it right where you're sitting right now. All right, we'll be back on Friday, Prediction Friday. We'll give you our scores, our stats, our expectations, the things that are going to go completely wrong. I did tell you that Corliss Marshall was going to have a long kickoff, possibly even a touchdown last week, and that happened. I did tell you that Keon Hatcher was going to have a play-action pass for a touchdown, reception for a touchdown.
Exactly.
I did. It's not exactly because I said it was going to be the first touchdown.
Did you? Okay.
And Corliss Marshall, technically speaking, it wasn't something that could have happened because Corliss Marshall returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. So one of my predictions negated the other one. But I did say that Keon Hatcher was going to have a play-action pass reception for a touchdown. That happened. We'll give you some predictions. If you're a betting man, you can take them and go do the exact opposite on Saturday. As I'm going to tell you my score, Matty will give you his score. Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Jerry World, 2:30 kick, the featured game of the week in the SEC this Saturday. We'll be back on Friday. For David and Matty, I'm Mark saying so long. We hope you'll join us again at 11 o'clock. RiverValleyLeader.com on Friday.